Yeah.
They get neutered over time. Listen, the most gangster sport right now, to my mind, is fucking ladies soccer.
I mean, I literally watched. I understand that, yeah, but like, I literally
Those
watched
bitches,
one
those
guy.
bitches are gangsters. That's the
So I
pussiest
mean,
eating fucking
I
squads in
literally
sports
watched.
today.
I
I
understand that,
guarantee
yeah,
you,
but
any
like,
ladies soccer team in America eats more pussy than any NBA team
oh yeah,
in
that's true.
America.
Yeah, that's
Crushing it,
NBA teams
crushing
full
it.
of like DJ Khaled's who don't. I don't do that.
Clits that look like a full-on knuckle, fucking just a full-on human
But
mature knuckle.
but like we were talking about like the hockey players, man. Like I watched three guys from the Tampa Bay Lightning probably get a limb and a leg broken
Mm-hmm.
from one guy on the Montreal Canadiens who he won the hardest shot um, competition in like the NHL All Star event, which is
Right.
like 114 miles an hour with a little fucking puck. Like he broke a dude's leg in game one that blocked it with pads. With pads. So that means it went through the pads and it was the big bone in your
It's
leg.
like getting hit by a tiny car.
Dude. And like he skated off on both of his legs and then they wrapped him up and he tried to
That's the
come
thing
back in
too,
the
though.
next game. I was like,
You're not making it to that degree in that sport
yeah.
without being certain kind of fucking animal. Like
Oh,
it's
yeah.
just not. It's not gonna happen. It's just
So-
never gonna be.
Some guy on the other team, I forget his fucking name. The guy on the Canadians got fucking his helmet knocked off, and then his face power slammed into the fucking ice, just blood dripping like he was just in a UFC fight. He doesn't go
Gangster
back.
sport.
He doesn't go back into the tunnel. He just sits down on the bench and goes. You can see him like after it happens. They're like asking him. He's
Waiting
like,
for my
and
turn, baby.
He's like, yeah, no. He's like, no, let's keep it going. Like, and then like it stops bleeding, and then they're like, they cut back to him. Well, he's not bleeding anymore, and he's just like giving the doctors a thumb up. He's like, yeah, no, I'm good, because he wanted to fucking go out there and fucking win. Like,
let's get it. Let's
Dude,
get it, baby.
you're talking
Yeah.
about guys on both teams that made it to the finals that like are worth like $10 million a year each that are taking half that so they can play on championship teams. That's the other thing too. Like everybody's
Legacy.
like about the money. Oh, about the money. About the money. Like LeBron James has been on four fucking teams.
Listen, LeBron James can suck a dick.
Yeah.
I gotta tell you, anybody. I'm so fucking sick of any athlete that
Don't
wants
like
to
his
preach.
PR. I don't like his PR stances.
Any athlete that wants to preach about any shit while wearing some shit that was made in China.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to sit here and act like I know where my fucking shirt was made.
Yeah.
Probably by a child in Laos. I don't
Yeah.
fucking know. Okay? But what I do know is that I'm not going to sit here and preach and pontificate about what anybody else the fuck needs to do
Yeah.
while I'm sitting here in my lush office full of fucking Legos and reefer. Okay? I'm not
Yeah,
fucking.
yeah.
I'm not gonna act like I'm breaking down some tyranny when I'm over here supporting direct slavery. And then while we're on the subject of sports in China, can we let this bitch run?
Did you see
And
that
not-
meme that I made?
Yes, I did. I loved it.
Dude,
And
if
not
you're gonna let a
act- and not
man compete
Well, and
in a
not act,
women's sport?
aside from the issue of the transgender powerlifter, which is fucking ludicrous.
But that is the most enhancement drugs you can have.
But
which
let's
are testicles.
let's even take that out of the equation, and let's not fucking pretend like the Olympic Games isn't horrifically marred historically by China and Russia juicing their competitors to the fucking gills throughout the 60s, 70s,
And still losing.
and 80s. Still losing on occasion. And still, I mean, you had guys like Corellin and stuff
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that in wrestling who were like dominators. But aside from even that, you have this constant thing in this fucking sport where people are always on,
And they're
okay,
always,
always
getting
juiced.
stripped.
and then they always figure it out, and then then it's 10 years later they got a different way they were juicing that they beat this.
Yeah.
You're gonna fucking give this bitch a hassle for a fucking blunt? Are you out of your
Listen,
fucking mind?
I mean, and the only thing is, they did it to Phelps too. Phelps should have 30-something medals. Phelps should be like so untouchable in medals that it's like it's
Just
not
as
funny.
outraged. And
Yeah.
I'm just as outraged for Phelps because
However,
this is
she-
America.
But she just smoked a blunt, which is ridiculous that she got any penalties. They were like, with Phelps, they were like, hey man, you can add another record to your case. And he's
yeah,
like,
the
what?
highest guy
Yeah,
ever.
you're the highest guy that's ever been tested.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, oh, well, I mean,
And that's what I'm saying. And that's the other thing that I think people are
the
like,
highest person that's ever been alive. Good job.
well, you know me. I'm not a
Yeah.
guy to talk about race either, but in this instance, I'm gonna be real, man.
Yeah.
This smacks of old school 1930s marijuana racism.
And this actually is funny that you mentioned that, because it goes back to the whole, I don't know if you've seen that guy that started, Gavin McGinnis, that famous conversation he has with that white lady when she's like, oh, there's European countries that are way better than America. And he's like, oh, you mean the primarily white countries, like Switzerland?
And let's not even just talk about those countries being completely homogenous as far as the ethnicities of those, you know what I mean?
Well, no, they're 98% white and then like 0.0000%
homogeneous.
Yeah. So like, do you know who runs the IOHC or whatever?
No.
Switzerland, where the fucking Fourth Reich is waiting in the mountains to come back.
Where the eugenics takes place.
Yes.
Where they go,
dude,
we won't listen, guys. We made the mistakes the first time when we were trying to eradicate people. Here's what we do, okay? Social engineering. We're not going to eradicate anyone.
Listen.
We take the mentally deficient. We inject them with sterilization.
and
only
they make
only
no more
the
babies.
blonde, blue-eyed, over 6'2" people.
Actually, a lot of people
That's
have my hair and eyes there. It's kind of weird. But
they look like Bjork.
Yeah, they all, which is, you know, it's funny. Like, it's funny that like a lot of Swedes look like that too. But and those are like the two friendliest countries, and those are like the whitest countries in Europe, and those are the countries that all the SJWs say like, oh, those countries are better. I'm like,
those countries are also the friendliest if you can afford.
If you can afford,
to be a tourist.
Actually,
you know what I mean.
No, my wife could afford.
Those are what I would call classist countries.
Well, my wife could afford to go there, like for her like studying abroad, and she said they were very mean to her, except for the one family that she like found with her church or whatever that like let her stay there for when she was in Switzerland, and they were like, hey, you shouldn't talk to people because they're all really racist. And she was like, what? And she goes out and it comes back, she's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go to the next country, this is pretty bad. So
it's like a certain kind of racism out there too. It's a very casual.
Yeah. It's kind of like when black people mistakenly go to Japan and they think everybody's being nice, and I have to tell them, look at how they're treating your white friends. They're shaking their hand, they're touching their shoulder, they're getting real close to them. Try to shake their hand.
Some. That's generational.
It's intergenerational to a point, though.
No, like, I'm talking about the whole difference to the white thing, because there's another, like, the generation of our parents' age and older in the Japanese culture, they're not getting all handsy like that.
No, they still will, because
it's our
no, they still will.
Not in my experience. But I'm also covered in tattoos, which is another wrinkle to the culture where like
taboo.
And it usually denotes criminality.
Yeah, it's a taboo over there. So I'm talking like this, the average white tourist. If
they usually give me my own table in my own area in the back, like.
No, the average
be a problem.
Like a guy that like looks like some of like the whitest people ever to exist to go over there. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like they'll get that like, oh, all touchy handsy, like, oh, this is cool, we're friends. And then I tell the black people, like, go shake their hand. And they're like, they won't fucking shake my hand. I'm like, that's the subtle racism that's actually worse, because like, you're bad luck. Like, that's terrible. And it's not just Japan, it's China, Vietnam, everywhere pretty much but the Philippines.
And that goes both ways, because it, like, I'm Cuban.
Yeah.
And I've heard Cubans say super racist shit about Asians, where like if you're playing dominoes and an Asian walks in the room, you gotta throw them out.
Yeah,
you gotta throw them out. Or they're bad luck. Or like, oh yeah, saca chino.
They're bad luck.
They're gonna absorb all the luck in the room.
Luck. I mean,
like, they're not bad luck. They're gonna absorb the luck.
I cannot.
It's just funny how those little funny stereotypes exist out there all the way around.
But I cannot deny that stereotype, because I don't know what it is, but if people are on a hot streak, like gambling somewhere, and there's no other Asians around, and my dad and I walk in the room, everybody is losing, and we are winning. Like, fucking, like we're stealing. That's how much we're winning. Or
When
like,
you go to the Hard Rock, you guys need to play.
no,
I walk you to the car, keep you safe.
there's tons of Asians. It's like the Filipino luck too. The Filipino luck is like a special thing. And
But see, Filipino luck is not the same as like Chinese luck.
no, Filipino
'Cause
luck
I've
is
had
either
Filipino dealers, and I've eaten up a Filipino dealer, and then they bring out a Ukrainian bitch, and you're like, oh no.
well, oh, I know that Ukrainian bitch. You're talking
Ursula.
about Ursula at Coconut Creek, the blonde chick. I know exactly who you're talking about.
And she'll be at 7 sometime.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Dude, I recognize her every time. And she's like, I do not know you. And I'm like, you take my money every time.
A former guest of ours, JoJo, who was on a while ago, took me and several other friends out to go see Joey Coco Diaz a few years back.
All right.
None of us are gamblers. I don't like it at all, really, but he really wanted to go in and gamble after the show. Partly, I think he wanted to see if we could catch Coco, in the casino at some point or something. Yeah. Which we all would have been.
I mean, that would have been great. Yeah.
Yeah. So we go play, and we got this little Filipino dealer at Hold'em. We're having a great time, and we're losing and winning enough to where we're sitting at the table, kind of breaking even the whole
just
for a while.
Fun. You're playing for free.
Real fun game. Yeah, exactly. After a while, we're up. Everybody at the table's up between like 100, 300, whatever.
Or send in Ursula. Oh,
exactly,
God.
Dude. Somebody comes over and tap our little Filipino buddy Ray. He goes, "Okay, guys, goodbye."
Good luck.
Yep. He leaves.
Luck.
This slate-faced, ice-eyed,
she looks miserable, right?
Soulless Russian bitch. Mm-hmm. She looks like she has a fiddler crab attached to her clit right at that moment. Like she just looks like life is agony.
Never smiles. Ever.
And she's like, no hello. She just comes in, deals, boom, 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 pass. In like 3 hands, takes everybody's fucking money.
Yeah, man.
And we're left there like, what are we doing, boys? Like, it was the worst gambling experience. That was one of the times I'm like, oh, this is dumb. Why would I do this?
Yeah.
I'd rather plot to rob this place. I'd have more odds on my side to fucking plot a robbery than to actually sit here and try and win.
I told Ursula the last time she sat down at a... Because the thing is, I don't know if you know this, she's trained in every game. She's like... I've seen her
at those out there, they're just stone cold mercenaries.
Table. It's not
gambling
even,
mercenaries.
No, I mean, it's not even that they're mercenaries. It's just they're cold and heartless, and they bring the mood down, which makes you not have fun, which makes you not like.
Tim Dillon says Russians have had 1,000 years of atheism, so they have no souls.
Exactly, dude. That's great. But like, I told her the last time, like she made an error was the last time I saw her as a dealer, which never happens with her. I've seen lots of dealers make errors. She like sent herself on a break, but before she did, I said, "Hey, I'm glad I got one in on you." And she's like, "I don't know you." And I'm like, "Listen, you've taken enough money from me, personally.
You better know me."
That like, no. Which I mean, I've seen other people lose way more money than me, like lifetime on one bet with her at a table than I have. But I'm like, Ursula, you've taken so much money from me. It's like we should have been married, had kids, houses. I'm basically paying you alimony. That's the only time I ever seen her like get a smirk, and then she's fucking left. And I was like, oh, you cold fucking bitch. I really wanted to bang her like at that moment, but like, cause she's cute, but she just has bitch face. Like, she's skinny cute.
We might be talking about a different bitch. This bitch look old.
Yeah, she looks old, but she's like, I don't know. I just wanted to.
I get what you mean though. One of those where you're like, there may have been a time.
Yeah.
She may have had her day in the sunshine.
Mm-hmm. But she has like old bitch face now. I think it's from having bitch face. Yeah, I think it's from having bitch face for her entire life.
I was gonna say it's from a considerable portion of your lifetime being rife with stark disappointment and cruelty. That's what that shit is.
And now you look here.
Oof.
Do you take people's disposable income?
Yeah. Now you bounce from casino to casino and essentially rob drunks.
Yeah.
I mean, that's rough, man. That's like a notch away from.
But that little smirk that she gave me, I was like, it revealed her like little bit of hotness that she once had.
Her Sith Lord nature.
And I was just like, oh, I'm parked on the 6th level. Come get me. Come pick me up. You do me.
What are you making tonight, Ursula? Yeah. What kind of night are we having?
But Now back to like the sports thing, speaking of that, like Russian, like Ukrainian Russian, those are like real men and like real women, you know.
Yeah.
And the post game interviews with all these people in these sports, they're just like, yeah, it was a team effort and blah blah blah. Or it's like LeBron James who's talking about his dumb platform. Fucking Nikita Kucherov, Tampa Bay Lightning, shirtless, 100% Russian, in Florida, just saying, fuck this, fuck that. Number one bullshit that my best friend didn't win the fucking best goalie award. That's fucking, I want to see that shit every game. I want to see that shit every game.
And that's the thing, right? Listen, nobody watched George St. Pierre because of his polite, respectful candor. They watched him because he was like an exceptional athlete.
Yeah.
And he was kind of an
anomaly. Was like disrespectful to his opponent.
Right. But it's almost like an anomaly to be that good and not be like a wild maniac, which is the exact opposite of why people watch Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson was this physical phenom, and he'd be like, yeah, I just want to really come in here and beat him so bad that it's like for him, if he like feels like that his children, that I could feel like I would crush his children's testicles, because that's the pain I feel every day, and I want them to feel that as well.
Yeah.
And you're like, did he just say he wants to crush somebody's children's testicles?
Yeah,
what
man.
the fuck? And shit like that, where he'd be like, or a reporter starts to talk to him, he goes, hey, excuse me, sweetheart, I don't usually talk to women unless I fornicate with them. So unless you want to go ahead and, you should probably be quiet unless you want to go ahead and do that. You know what I'm saying? And they're just like, what? And he's like, yeah, that's what the fuck I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, that guy is a like fucking maniac of intrigue. Well, he's a much older man now. He's lived a lot more experiences of life.
I noticed the big shift when he lost his daughter.
That's got to be a huge life-changing moment. But imagine being 22 years old or something, and you're destroying everyone who gets put in front of you.
He was 18.
Well, I think he was 22 or 23 when he won the title.
When he won, but when he was 18, he was telling people, he's like,
when he was 16, he was destroying guys in adult divisions.
And they didn't think that he was 16. Yeah.
No, when he was at 13, he was starting 12 and 13 years old. He had to fight 16 and 17-year-olds because they didn't believe he was fucking 13 years old. So you're talking about a human who's a physical specimen, right?
Yeah.
And then on top of that, has the mental training from one of the all-time great coaches in history of combat sports, which is Cus D'Amato.
Also has the wild upbringing of the 70s Bronx, like
the Brooklyn, New
York,
New York. When he talks about like, yeah, you know, I was like 7 or 8 years old, my mother would give me marijuana and alcohol to try and get me to go to sleep, and I'd be running around the streets instead. And then I found a guy who had acid, and I was about 10 when I tried that. And you're like, oh, you've been honing yourself without even knowing it to live in a high-stress situation and survive. Like, when you watch a guy like Mike Tyson's a great example of taking frantic energy and applying it to your athletic trade.
Yeah.
Like, taking an intense... We were doing leg locks in jiu-jitsu class last night, and there's never a more frantic and intense moment that you'll see in a mixed martial arts or a grappling match than when guys are tangled up in each other's legs and they know what the other wants to do, and it's this intense tornado of like fear and ill intent. You can watch like Don Fry versus Ken Shamrock is a great example where they're literally like breaking each other's ankles.
The Wizard, the guy that like abuses the you can't kick the guy when he's on the ground system to get you in a leg lock, Michael something.
There's a couple of guys
he looks very out of shape. But what he does is he shoots wrong on purpose to get the takedown defense, and then he lays on his back like this.
There's a couple of guys
upwards, but then when you come in for him, he immediately goes in for the leg lock. And this is when they raise his arm, he just does this every time. He's like,
maybe Michael Hall, but like there's a couple of guys out there.
He won the last Ultimate Fighter thing.
There's a couple of guys out there like that too, where it's like if they have a couple of specific things that they do to an insane degree. There was like a guy named Cody McKenzie.
They're describing it. He's specifically abusing the rule of you can't kick the guy on the ground.
But it's not really even abuse, right?
Yeah.
It's use.
He's using
utilization of the rule. Yeah.
And like so he's undefeated, like because he goes to a point where he can't get knocked out, and he's got a glass jaw.
Well, and you've got a guy who's got a skill set.
And his leg locks are stupid.
And a body type that's allowing him to do this crazy shit. There was a guy named Cody McKenzie a couple years back he was a real skinny guy. Yeah. And he had this insane guillotine that was almost like a modified rear naked choke, like a reverse rear naked. And he would get these guys way high up, and then he would lock it in like that, and he would cinch it down so crazy. And he would put guys to sleep with a guillotine choke, which is a choke that typically people don't get put to sleep with. They usually get, a pain. Yeah, it's an uncomfortable choke. It's a esophageal choke, not a blood choke. And fucking dude, he would catch it all the time on people, and they started calling it like the Mackenzie teen or some shit like that.
That's awesome.
Dude, but it's one of those things. Well, and it's one of those things too that, like, another great example, Eddie Bravo. Okay, he took the wrestler's guillotine. Well, he took the rubber guard. He took the wrestler's guillotine, which he modified, utilizing the rubber guard, and they started calling it the twister. And he's catching guys with fucking devastating move. You know what I mean? And it's one of those things where, like, somebody will specialize something.
The Korean Zombie did the first one, right, in the UFC.
First one in the UFC. Dude, first one in mixed martial arts.
It looks scary when you get into a twister.
A spine crank.
And you're like also trying to rip the dude's head off at the same time, which is
it's a mean fucking body crank.
That fucking Chinese girl that I can never pronounce her name.
Wei Li Zhang.
Yeah, Wei Li. That's how, like, she did her first, like, 5 fights in one or whatever, and she ended all of them in a twister, and the girls were crying. Dude, she didn't get it all the way in. They knew it was coming, and they were like tap 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 tap. How do I tap all of the things? And I
want to say the guy's name was Ian Salavari, right? He was the guy who started his fight career a little older, and he was a really good grappler. He wasn't like a super well balanced guy. His striking wasn't bad, but it was stiff. Like, you see certain guys that just more adept in one thing or another. And I want to say on more than one occasion, I've seen this guy get, like, what they call a seatbelt grip when he's on somebody's back, which is like on their back with the hooks in, your legs wrapped around their waist, and then one arm under their armpit and one arm over, like a seatbelt.
Yeah.
And do a fucking back crank that literally is like dislocating the spine of somebody.
This is a good transition to what I was thinking.
You see people tap in agony.
Yeah.
Because there's moves that people tap to because it's going to be causing damage.
Yeah.
It might not even hurt, but they know that damage is going to occur.
They tap before.
Right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
And the other guy doesn't
you know
crank.
where it's going.
And the other guy doesn't crank, but he's letting
Actually,
you know,
my jiu-jitsu professor was talking about yesterday. He's like, there's like, when you get that heel hook in competition even, there's like a little courtesy look for a second where it's like, we both know where this is going. Are you all right?
Yeah.
Like, where it's almost like, all right, like, I'm giving you the out. But you see that, and then you have guys like the infamous Husamar Paul Hares. Look this guy up. It's Husamar with an R, R-O-U, I believe, I-S. Paul Hares, P-A. It looks like P-A-U-L-H-A-R-S, I think.
No, it's P-A-L, yeah. Okay. Oh, Jesus, that guy's a brick.
You see what he looks like? He looks like a tree trunk, right?
Yeah, yeah.
He was notorious for catching leg locks and finishing them on guys, even when the ref would be trying to drag him off. I think he did it a couple times in the UFC. He choked a couple guys to sleep and didn't let go, like when he was being pulled off. He's one of those dudes who, like, you get with a guy like that, you gotta fuck him up. Like, you have to get in there.
Yeah.
You can't get in there.
You know, the most gentleman I've ever, like, recently I've been, like, listening to Khabib, his audio in the ring. Have you heard him talking to people in the ring? It's like polite, but he's also talking shit. Yeah, you must give up, bro. He's like, I'm going to be the champion.
This is my destiny for to be champion. This, bro. You cannot win, bro.
Or when he got somebody in the lock, he's like, please tap out. Please tap out. Come on. You cannot do it. You cannot do it, bro.
Don't make me break it, bro.
Yeah.
Don't make me break it.
He's not doing the courtesy. He's telling you. He's like, I will break. Like, I have to do this. Like, this is what I have to do to go on. But you should tap. You need to keep living. Like, he doesn't want to kill you.
I want to say the fight that
he's going to.
That became famous was when he fought Michael Johnson.
Yeah, and he's just beating the shit out of him, and he's like,
he's mauling him.
He's like, give up. Give up.
like,
you know this is my belt. Bro. Yeah, this is my championship.
This is my destiny, bro. I'm going to be champion, bro. You know this. You can feel this.
Yeah.
You can feel I am champion, bro. Like, and it's just like,
dude, and that motherfucker helps people up after he does his like Muslim prayer.
Otherworldly belief, like
dude,
in himself.
I mean, and that's the other thing with like religion too. Like his religion is pushing him like that extra mile that some people don't have. But like,
no question.
Also, like he's trying to tell you, like he doesn't want to kill you, he doesn't want to hurt you. That's how much of a gentleman he is. And then after he like prays to Allah, right? He fucking goes and makes sure you're okay. Like even Conor McGregor, who he fucked up, and there was lots of bad blood. No, there was the fight mistaken. Afterwards. No, that was the one. The fight was afterwards.
You're mistaken because after that fight, he was like, he jumped over the cage. Personal, bro. No, it's not personal, bro. Like that was a lot of bad blood in that fight. Other fights, he's very polite and courteous. No, for sure.
Like what's his face?
He's a sportsman. And say what you want to say.
Right? Not Gustafson. No. The guy.
Gustafson's a 205-pounder.
No, the guy that always wears the blue shorts. Gaethje, whatever.
Justin Gaethje.
Dude, he made sure he was okay before he even like prayed. He was just
he's friends with him. He's friends with the guy. Same with Dustin Poirier.
Yeah. Dude,
he donated his purse.
I know he
donated his purse to Dustin Poirier's charity.
He's a fucking great man, and like Dustin Poirier is a good dude too. From like Coconut Creek, man. Like he's fighting with Masvidal. That's what I love. Dude, I love to see Poirier and Masvidal hanging out because I'm like,
Khabib,
that's just two hood dudes.
Khabib though is a great example of like, we both grew up around a lot of people who act like they're Christians.
Yeah.
But don't live like they're Christians, right?
That man's a real Muslim.
Khabib is a real Muslim. The same way when you meet a real Christian who they're like, do you need something? And they mean it.
Mm-hmm.
When you meet a real Christian too, it almost is weird. You know what I'm saying?
It's weird, but I love it. But I love it.
Once you realize there's not pretense and that they're not trying to get over or get something, you're like, oh, I found a real one. Holy shit.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with any person of extreme faith. If you meet a real Jew, a real hard like over like Passover, he's gonna be like, yo, come eat, come to my family's table. Like that's a real thing of those cultures to say like, hey, if you're a stranger in need, we offer you a hand, right?
I've met more real Jews than any other.
Sure,
which makes me have more respect for them.
But it's a through line through the Abrahamic tradition, right? Yep. Khabib is a perfect example of somebody who is living by what he is, preaching.
That man doesn't touch like women.
He doesn't shake women's hand. No, man, listen.
But it's not like it's not a disrespectful thing like a lot of Muslims do. Like he's actually more respectful. Yeah, man. He's actually more respectful. And he's Russian too. Like that's the other thing. Like he's a true believer, not a fucking fake.
No, there's a meme out there where it's like
he's a fucking Russian that grew up wrestling bears or whatever.
There's a meme out there where there's a fighter, I forget which fighter's face they used, who's like got a surprised look on his face, and it says when your opponent is announced and he has an Arab first name and a Russian last name.
Fucking
those guys are fucking those Dagestani cats are like, yes, we're the lowest social people in Russia.
Yeah.
They're socially
the hardcore people of Russia.
We've been pushed out to the hills of Russia.
And his buddy Piotr is from there too, right? Who's like the champ at his weight.
I don't think Peter Yan is from the same place. I don't think he's Dagestani. I think he's
he's trained with him and he's fucking badass.
I'm sure a lot of those guys have crossed over, but he's
he's in his camp. For sure. I remember that because
but he's not in his camp all the time. He bounces, but I want to say maybe Polish Peter Yan.
No, he's Russian too. I remember it was a big thing when he dominated Mighty Mouse or whatever it was, and
Peter Yan's a bad man too,
dude.
That was another controversy where you talk about like athletes kind of softening up when Aljamain Sterling kind of took a dive in that fight, so to speak, as a lot of people would say. That's how Peter lost his title.
Was the illegal? Was it like an illegal knee or something or whatever?
It was an illegal knee. Let's see. Yeah, you're right. He is Russian. I thought he was Polish.
No, they were talking about it a lot, and Khabib was like there, like with him.
Yeah, but he. You know what though? He's definitely not on Khabib's team.
Okay.
Because there's a like an ethnic racial component to
Okay,
that.
yeah. That makes sense.
Because there's
But
Chechens.
that's his buddy though, for sure. Because there's not a lot of
This
Russian
guy's from
UFC guys that are at that level.
Dudinka, so he's like Russian, not like Dagestani Russian. He's like
no,
fucking,
I mean his first name's Piotr or whatever.
Yeah,
it's spelled Peter, but you say Piotr. Yeah.
They also say that Piotr in Poland and Romania and shit too. But that was all
other
Russia.
Slavic-based, Slavic-based languages. Yeah. But like that, actually, the segue of like those are fucking people with conviction and fucking tough fucking people, right? Sure. I want to see Russian NHL players transition to UFC because I feel like if you have like it's a comparable work ethic, comparable work ethic. You know,
not just the work, comparable grit.
Yeah, man. Because basically they're doing the training camps.
You're not going to have
the
a
UFC
lot of
guys are doing all season, and then
so the guys that you see
they do like 4 or 5 fights worth, right?
The guys that you're seeing come over now are guys like Brendan Schaub from the NFL, Greg Hardy from the NFL. I think there's a guy named Chris Turkshire who was like an NFL third stringer, fourth stringer.
Don't they? They do okay, right? They don't do great.
None of them have been a champ yet, but they have the overall athletic base, right? The athletic skill set that does translate well to fighting. Fast twitch, explosiveness, durability, power, all those things. Now you don't see guys.
Hockey is a higher level of athleticism than those other sports too.
But you don't see. I don't know, because the guys at the NFL Combine have like some of the highest numbers in sports. Period. But you don't see.
I actually have
smaller. Well, I'm sure there's a bunch of different metrics that you could go by, but you don't see the smaller football guys come over.
Okay.
It's only the big boys.
Well, there's not a lot of.
There's something to that too.
So the funny thing in this,
because the smaller guys are the kickers and the receivers and all that kind of shit. You know what I mean?
The funny thing about that you just said that is that like, when people were stacking up the Tampa Bay Lightning against the Montreal Canadiens, they were just like, the shortest guy on the Tampa Bay Lightning is as big as the Canadiens' like biggest enforcer, and he's just like a guy that shoots, and like there was literally a moment when a medium-sized guy from the Canadiens tried to push the biggest guy on the Lightning, and it was literally like like when a little kid pushes an adult and the adult doesn't even like register it. They don't even move. Right. Like they're on ice, so he went back a little bit, but he even had this look on his face. He's like, dude, your head, the top of your head comes up to my shoulders. Like,
well, and that goes back to the thing of like physical inequity, right? So years ago, God, I wish I remember what organization it was. It might have been this Russian event, but there was a guy named Cal Worsham, I think was his name. Okay. And he had been in like a couple of UFCs and things like that. If I'm not mistaken, Tank Abbott tried to actually throw him out of the cage at an early UFC.
Didn't work.
And it didn't quite work. I mean, he beat the guy. Tank beat the guy, but Cal was fighting this guy named Paul the Polar Bear Varlins.
Okay.
And Paul Varlins was like 330, 40 pounds, something like that. Nearly 7 foot tall, like 6'8" at the smallest. And Cal was like a big guy, but like, not a power puncher per se. He had, it was early mixed martial arts era, so his experience level was relative to that. You know what I mean? He was a guy who had some fight experience, but not a ton compared to what guys come in with now. And fucking, he rushes Paul Varlins, and he is teeing off, especially for that era, like just landing a lot in succession, where you're not seeing a lot of combos. Now, it's not dynamic combinations of hooks and jabs and crosses and uppercuts, but it's like rock'em sock'em style straight in at him, right? He's wham-a-ramming Paul Varlins, busting Varlins up to the point where Varlins is got his mouth open to breathe because I'm sure his nose is full of blood.
Yeah.
But at one point, this guy, Worsham, gets kind of tired and like does the classic thing that you see guys do when they're fighting a bigger guy. He like leans into the bigger guy, and Paul Varlins just does like a boom, like a giant smash on this dude's back, and the dude's like, oh my god! You can see like the reaction, and then I think it's the second one probably just flattens him to the ground, and then this giant is on top of him, just there, and it's stopped.
Oh no, I've seen that. Fast. The big black guy. Yeah.
No, he's a big white guy. He's a big white guy with a flat top.
Oh no, that one. Yeah.
He's wearing like a wrestling singlet. It's back in the old days where people didn't have a unified shit that they wore in the ring. Dude, it is such a wild, because the little guy's winning.
Yeah.
The little guy's winning, but you're just dealing with two different types of human.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And fucking, he just fucking blasts. And then you have other moments too where like Hector Lombard is a guy who's a fucking serious, thick, strong guy, right?
So,
Dan Henderson, in contrast, is known as a powerful guy, but he's not like imposing, physically looking as the other guys are. When they fought, Dan Henderson clipped Hector Lombard with a short back elbow in an exchange, and it rocked Hector, and Dan Henderson followed up and put him out. Henderson is one of those guys who have like trainers have said like massaging him is exhausting because his body's so fucking dense. It's just made of different shit. Like, people are just made of different shit. I got shitty knees, but a really thick skull. Like, everybody's just got different shit.
Imagine, so this is what it was like with the Tampa Bay Lightning versus the Canadians, right? Imagine that big white dude in the singlet, but, like, agile as fuck. Like Khabib agile, right? Versus, like, the smaller guy who's not as good at punching, jumping, like doing, like, the big 300-pound guys doing flips and shit. Like, spinning kicks. That's literally what the Stanley Cup was. Like, it was hard to watch, like, even as a Tampa Bay fan, because I was just like, literally my Facebook posts are like, I'm sorry, Canada. Like, they fought really, they were the last place team.
Isn't that a scary thing, though, when you have a bigger guy at something whose skill level is also so much higher? Like, that's terrifying.
That's what everybody said. They're like, because the Canadians they were the last place team in the playoffs. And they fought their way through all the Canadian teams who were all on paper better, bigger, faster, stronger, right? And then they went through the Vegas team who was definitely better than anybody else in the West, right? But then, if you look on the East Coast side of the bracket, like, the worst team on the East Coast side of the bracket could have beaten anybody on the West Coast team, right? And, like, and now you've got the best. Like, the biggest, fastest, strongest guys, truly in the whole NHL.
But it seems like a lot like a parallel to fighting, where you have certain regions which are kind of bringing certain elements.
And the crazy thing is they split up all the divisions for COVID, right? So they were all regionally specific. Now, all the best guys from the playoffs happen to be in this division now with Tampa. So they broke them all up before, right? And it made things more interesting this year, and I kind of like this year because they basically threw everybody from this division all over the globe, all over the North America, right? And everybody from the division that the Tampa Bay Lightning are in right now and the Florida Panthers won their division, respectively. So, like, all the best people were already from this region, from this division. They went out and got experience fucking everybody up, even the Canadians. The Canadians are better than everybody on the West at that time because they were used to playing against the Tampa Bay Lightning all the time before that. And now you're going to recondense the power to where, like, all those best guys that Tampa beat and then all those that everybody beat on the other side too, they're all going to be in the same division again, playing each other all year. Like, I don't know, like, whoever is the best out of that division, again, just like the last 5 years, is going to be the team. I don't know, like, the NHL needs to do something because, like, let me tell you why. So, Canadian teams suck because taxes. If you get a $1.5 million contract, you're getting $900,000 out of that. If you get a $1.5 million contract and you play for a team in Florida, you're getting $1.49 million.
But wait, Mike. You mean it's not motivating the players to lose a giant chunk of what they earn for their hard work?
Yeah. That's literally what's happening. Are you sure? Crazy thing is...
Are you sure communism isn't motivating people to work harder? Holy shit.
I love it. I love it.
Let me tell you something. And I don't care if I never can go to Canada. That Justin Trudeau, let me tell you something.
Canadian people are trying to revolt against him, and he's making it so they can't.
Let me tell you something.
That fucking half-Cuban Castro.
That's fucking Fidel Castro's motherfucking son. He
looks just like him and looks nothing like his dad.
And let me tell you something. His communism shows, motherfucker. And all he's doing is the light pussy version of what his dad did.
Yeah.
Instead of being like, hey, guys, listen. We got all the guns. So like, if you don't like it, well, go ahead,
You know-
my machine gun party, okay?
Yeah.
But he's just doing like, hey guys,
You're gonna get fined.
we'll have law enforcement come and issue you your citation.
Yes.
And once we cite you into poverty,
Yeah.
then we'll jail you.
Yeah. Because then you're too poor to live here.
And then you're too poor to fight.
Yep.
And you're limited to how you can fight in that country as far as your legal rights go. You have comedians, stand-up comedians being sued for jokes in that country and losing. The precedent that is being set in Canada right now, if my band were to take off and go on tour, guess what? There's a couple spots I ain't going. And I ain't going to fucking Canada where you can't say what the fuck you want to say. That's where I am.
Not going to California.
I'll go to California just to start some shit.
Yeah.
Smoke some dope.
But
and to eat some burritos.
So that's the other thing too about the money,
Let me say another thing. I hope California does what they say and they let everybody from Mexico in, because that state will be red in 5 years.
5 years? It'll be red in like 2.
5 years.
It'll be
red in 5 years because we don't sign up for shit for a long time. It takes a long time.
No, but that's how they're getting them to come over. That's how dumb they are. They're getting them to come over, and as they get them to come over, cool, you're a citizen. Now you can vote. And they're like, oh, okay, that's good. No, abortions are no good. Jesus don't want abortions. Abortions are bad.
I like to go to church with my family.
Yeah.
And I come from
you can give us money to build churches?
Immigrants. I come from Latin American immigrants, and these are the people who they like conservative values, and they will utilize left-wing programs to their benefit, because these folks are survivors, and they come from a world where they are left in a situation where they have no choice but to do everything that they can do to survive.
Smart.
They're gonna make it.
Yeah.
They're gonna fucking make it, homie.
Yeah.
And let me tell you something. I don't think there's a better possible addition to our country than the hardworking people of Latin America.
Dude, I think all of Latin America.
I think Latin American people and I think Asian American people are some of the hardest working motherfuckers in the dude. Indians are killing it in America right now, working hard, motherfucker.
Killing it in the internet.
That's what I'm saying. I hope all these fucking immigration happy motherfuckers get their wish.
Yeah.
Because in 5 years,
and then the Republicans are going to be like, "Oh, delightful! I did not expect this to happen."
That's where the Republicans fail, where they're like, these browns, they're.
I don't know, the modern Republican Party.
The modern Republicans are a little different, but they're not in charge yet.
Not yet. That's what I'm saying.
The neocons are in charge.
That's what I'm saying.
The old timers still.
By the time all the liberals get all the immigrants in here,
because those lizards stay in the job for fucking
eternity. They're already getting
now,
towards the end.
But the ones that are 70 now, they got 30 more years on the clock as far as the way they're going. They're like Dick Cheney, where they're like, give me the heart of a small Asian boy, and I'll continue with my reign.
Kalima. Yeah.
Enron is basically a subsidiary of the United States government, and essentially our board of directors runs Congress. Fucking, that's what's going on, bro. So anyway, we really what a tangent.
So back to the money thing. So like, this is why Canada is never going to win a Stanley Cup, though, because. Like I was saying, if you get a $1.5 million contract...
By the way, make a note. That's a clip. Wherever we went off the rails talking about hockey and went into politics, but like that's a clip. How the boys can turn anything into a political conversation.
We go from hockey to politics.
Canada. And
just
fuck you, Canada.
Yeah, also fuck you, Canada. Yeah. And that was literally...
Also, and let me tell you something. Canada is responsible for some amazing shit. George St. Pierre, John Candy, just to name a few. Two people that I love immensely.
Canadians are putting stuff out...
Canadians are
right
the
now.
shit.
Yeah. That's why I say fuck Canada, because and also Canadians are like crying out for America.
Up to Canadians.
But Canadians are crying out for Americans and America to help them, because like the censorship thing.
I've heard the same thing from a lot of people from England.
Dude, like Jordan Peterson was exactly correct. He said if you start this one thing,
man. Another Canadian treasure.
A Canadian liberal Democrat, by the way, who is just getting slammed as a right-wing Nazi.
Until he was
no, he still identifies.
But he's not going to vote for that extremist
ideology. No. But he still identifies as a liberal and a Democrat, like at heart. But
it's like those lines don't exist anymore.
Yeah, exactly. So, but he said that if you start this crap of censoring speech, it's going to be a a fucking, a slippery slope. And he was fucking right, because that was only like, what, 8 years ago when he was making a big deal about that?
Yeah.
When it first started? Like
He's like
2012?
Terrence McKenna fucked for Kermit the Frog.
9 years?
And
Yeah,
brilliant.
9 years ago. Yeah, 9 years ago. Like 2012 is when he started all this shit. And now, everybody's complaining.
That's the thing, too. I feel for that guy because he didn't start all that shit.
No. He was just the one brave enough to stand up to the shit.
A bunch of fucking Looney Tunes started this whole movement of, you have to acquiesce to these demands of speech. And he said, like, it happened to the Weinstein brothers as well, from Evergreen College, who got fucked because they were like, wait a minute, you want us to participate in a day of what? Where no...
A racist day?
And then first of all, what is white? These guys are Jews.
Yeah.
Do they qualify? Because their people were oppressed at the time. So the lines are so
and his wife.
Arbitrary. The whole the trio.
The whole family,
But it's such an arbitrary set of rules that are decided upon at like will by whomever, you know what I mean? And then again, you're talking about people who are saying they're being oppressed. In the case of like some of these colleges, these are Ivy League schools.
Going to
many
college.
of these children, many of these children who are attending these schools come from families who are multi-millionaires. What the fuck are we talking about?
I called that this was going to be the way, like, even before Jordan Peterson was, like, starting shit and the Evergreen College thing started, because I have a lot of, like, Asian friends that ended up going to a UCLA, and UCLA is the only college that doesn't do affirmative action. They only accept students based on test scores. And there was, like, some black kid that was on the football team that was like, there's only 2% black people at this school. It's racist as fuck. Look at all the white people. And I was like, and then like one of my wife's friends who's a black racist guy was like posting that shit. I'm like, and I literally just pulled up the statistics of students. Like it's 80% Asian and then like 20% everybody else, right? And he's like, yeah, that's racist. I'm like, no. They only, you have to have a certain test score. They don't look at your name. They don't look at your race. They don't look at your sex. They just say out of the spots that we have, these amount of people tested correctly to get into the school. And he's like, no, that's racist. I'm like, how is it racist? Oh, the tests are racist. I'm like, then why are Asians only getting in there pretty much? Like, what is your problem?
You didn't know math
was racist. Yeah. This was like the beginning of that whole shit that I remember, which was like in like 2010-ish, 2011, and I was just like, what the fuck is going on? That can't be a thing. Like, and that went away relatively quickly, but if that happened again now, that would be like CNN for a week talking about how racist UCLA is, like.
Well, it's one of those things though that it's like I saw a really cool meme where it was like, they're not going to tell you when you can go back to normal. They're going to wait for you to go back to normal and then act like they are the ones who told you could go back to normal.
Yeah.
And I think it's the same thing with the media in a lot of ways. I think they're actually behind the zeitgeist in a lot of cases.
There was a very good TikToker that did like a cool thing where like the liberals were kind of that were giving them the news were being very reasonable about how they were giving them the news. And then the media was like, no, it's dumb. We'll just tell them that the good ideas that they had were our ideas the whole time all along, and that they wanted to defund the police, and that we're reinstating them out of the kindness of our heart because we're evil and we can do whatever we want. And the liberals are like, okay, that's benefiting us now. And then the news media person that she was impersonating, or like acting like she was like, yeah, for now. And then like side eye, I'm like, that's fucking it, man. They're fucking.
That's
terrible.
Exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. They just use what they need when they need it.
Yeah.
It's like anything else. It's hunters of opportunity.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're scavengers. They clean the bones.
One other reason why I like the NHL, I hate to keep harping back, but I'm like a fan. So like
that's what we're doing. Hey, we're doing here? What are we doing?
The very last game of the year that the Tampa Bay Lightning played against the Florida Panthers, they started the very first ever in hockey, the line of 3 black guys on the forwards, which was like a big deal for a second, but then like they interviewed those 3 black guys and they're like, yeah, it's cool, but we just want to play hockey, man. Like we're We're fucking hockey players. We're playing for the best team on the planet. Like, and it's really awesome that they gave us, like, we're all buddies, I guess, but, like, I'm more friends with that guy because they're all from different parts. That's what I was saying. They're black dudes from Canada, and they're hockey players. So, like, hockey players are basically the Russians of sports when it comes to, like, foul mouth. Like, so they're, like, foul mouth. They're using the word cunt interchangeably for other words. Like,
Sure.
and, like, people are, like, trying to ask them all these SJW questions, and they're like, no, man, we lost. And, like, people tried to fight us, and we didn't like that. Like, we're going to do better in the playoffs and, like, all this shit. I'm like, yeah, man. Like, that was great to hear from them.
But going back to the opinions of athletes.
Yeah.
Another story that was in the news we briefly touched on. Miss Richardson's issue that occurred with marijuana that was ridiculous, especially since she was in a legal state. But that's, you know, again, I've been very clear on my fucking point. That's fucking stupid. But anyway, what about the young lady who was a third place shot put winner and did like a demonstration during the anthem or what have you? This was really funny to me because nobody gives a fuck if you're the first place shot put winner. Okay?
I mean,
so if you don't win, you don't fucking win. I actually am happy that this girl did this little protest because it actually put more light on the young woman who won the first place. Because if you don't fucking, listen, there's 3 guys who walked on the moon in the first one. You know, fucking Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin. Yeah. I don't know the third guy's fucking name.
Michael Collins.
I don't know.
He didn't walk on the moon, but he wrote.
But he was there. He was in the lunar module or whatever.
He's the one of 2 men who have been the deepest into space ever. So, I wrote a song about him. But
the common knowledge is not about fucking Michael Collins. So,
which is my problem because when everybody was talking about the hammer throw thing, I was like, oh, you're talking about that girl?
Right. Well, was it hammer throw or shot put?
Yeah, hammer throw. It was a hammer throw. So
you gotta if you do hammer throw, if you do an actual ancient Olympic sport, a fucking sport that they did on Olympus, if you do one of those, you gotta win like the top shit, or you gotta shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to see the third place curling fucking team. You gotta shut the fuck up. You gotta know what the fuck you're doing. And let me tell you
funny that you say that because when everybody was talking about that,
if you're gonna try and make a platform out of shot put or fucking hammer throw or javelin or any shit like that, you better throw the javelin out of the fucking arena, okay? You better throw and hit a fucking communist dictator in another country. Then you could say some shit to me. Because you're doing a fucking javelin, okay? Yeah. You and Achilles.
So let's talk about the girl, though. So let's talk about the girl that got first. Because when everybody was like, did you hear what happened with that girl with the hammer throw?
Super thick, and I like it.
Listen, though. Yeah. Oh, for sure. But listen, what I was actually aware of was her performance first. Because this is how good she is, okay? In the history of the Olympics, like ever. Like a
record crusher?
Ever, yes, ever.
And that's one of the oldest games.
It is one of the oldest games, yeah. So the history of recorded Olympics ever for women, right?
Talking about back when Dix was out in the Olympics.
Yes, right?
Dix out!
2 women have thrown the hammer farther than 80 meters. And she is one of them. Okay, so that's impressive, right? She makes a world record in the trials to get to the Olympics, right? That's amazing. You get 6 throws, right? 6 throws in the hammer toss. The top 5 throws were her record breaker, and then the next 4. Nobody else.
What a badass.
The second place girl.
What a gangster.
Yeah, the second place girl got the 6th farthest throw, and then she had the 7th farthest throw, and then that dumb bitch who was like, I don't stand for the flag. So that means she fucking, dude, she is not just like, oh, really good. She is the best person, best female to ever compete in this sport. And I was,
I don't want people to get the wrong idea either. I don't have a nationalist bent. If you are playing in an Olympic Games type thing or any of those kind of games representing the nation,
you need to be proud of your country, right?
Not even just your country, motherfucker. When they play Brazil's national anthem, you better fucking stand. When they play Russia, when they play whatever the fuck,
everybody.
When they play Malaysia and Laos and fucking Thailand and
It
fucking
upsets
wherever
me
else.
that this is like
You
a
better
historically a historic moment in her sport that she's been chasing for like years, right?
Yeah.
She's the world champion to start off with. She broke a record in her third throw, and nobody came close to her in all of her other throws, except for like the one girl, like threw farther than her worst throw, right? And it upsets me though. It upsets me that a girl that couldn't beat her worst throw that got third is like stealing the thunder away.
Well,
a girl that's not even gonna podium. She's not even gonna podium.
Right.
She's not even gonna get close. You know the crazy thing is the girl that got second. The girl that got second to her is probably going to get the silver in the Olympics too. That's the thing. Really? Those two, their teammates, they're both badasses, man. And that was like the gap.
Where are they?
Like
do you know where they're from?
I think they're from like the northern Midwest, definitely, like the sturdy women that we've talked about before.
Viking genes.
So then let's even talk about her. So the one girl has the five.
So hold on, let's get
right?
the question,
the second place girl has a sixth. She has a seventh. Right. But then there's the big gap of distance, and then the third place girl. So it's just those two girls, honestly, in the world
that are just crushing,
dude. And they're both similar builds. When they hug each other, it looks like World's Strongest Man. when they're like, good job, and they're doing like the man pats.
So here's the question though that I think everybody wants. I think everybody wants to know, and that I think is like the important question. Is a handy from that broad awesome,
amazing,
or like horrible?
I think it's amazing.
Because that could go real wrong though.
So I think if you're traditionally Asian, it could go really wrong. But I feel like if you're a normal to above average girth, it's probably great. Got the kung fu grip.
Oh, I don't know. You ever get like
That's
that?
My personal taste is like try to pop it off. Squeeze so hard that the top bursts.
No, I like a rough situation too, but I just feel like that's a lot of
power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It might be fun to be in a situation where you have to be. Well, but it might be fun because for me, I don't often feel like I need to be like, be gentle. like.
Yeah, she fucks you. Yeah, for sure. Oof. She like picks you up too, and you're like, I'm big.
Dude, she hammer throws you into the fucking bed.
Her like fucking shoulders and like her lats, dude. Were fucking
brick house, and she's cute as fucking the face.
Yeah. Her and the second place girl. Second place girl's way cuter though. Like
she looks like though if she domestic violences you're in fucking trouble.
Oh yeah, you're in trouble.
You better get behind a locked door, and you better
the second place girl
because the door's coming down.
The second place girl is actually like slim, thicker. Like she doesn't have like the stuff like stuff coming out, but it's like muscle though. That's actually the girl where I'd be like, is she gonna hit me? Because she's got like fucking what's that Cuban UFC guy's like shoulders and arms? The one that nobody wants. Yeah, she's got like Yoel Romero like upper body, and I'm just like like upper body, like you can see
lats and shit.
Yeah, you can see those
big
things.
Lats.
They're like fucking thick, and I'm just like, yeah, but like how can you like? I would if there was like fight happening, I'd be like, protect me. Like, they're gonna shoot you, and the bullet's gonna go like pop out of your like lats and shit. Like she's fucking she's thick, man, like muscle thick.
No, Olympics are cool for that alone. For looking at women that you're like, whoa.
And did you see
like a real athletic woman's body? Like, holy shit.
And when you look at those two girls,
broad.
Exactly. When you see those two girls and you see the third place skinny bitch, I'm like, you're a hammer throw person. First of all, she's like a foot shorter, and like no muscle, no fat. I'm like, are you just like what's left?
No, like, she was muscular though. She had muscle.
She had muscle. But I mean, like standing next to those two girls.
No, standing next to the Incredible Hulk and Thor. No, she didn't have fucking.
No, she's like fit, but like, come on, like clearly. And then if you look at the hammer throwers around the world,
all I know is those ladies are gonna bring home some fucking medals, and also any faces that they sit on are going to stay sat, and
Well,
I think that's
married.
great. I think that's also great. Well,
They're married. They're gonna sit on their husbands.
Dudes,
Yeah.
lucky dudes.
They're gonna be like, yeah, I fucking won gold
lucky
and
dudes.
silver.
Yeah, exactly. Get that gold up on it. Fuck.
Speaking of which,
I want to see the dudes they're married to, and then I want to see the children, the fucking children that they make. If they're married to traditional thick Midwestern, like some thick Midwestern
like
Iowa
lumberjack,
dudes. Yeah, bro. Some fucking Idaho guy, a Michigan, an Upper Peninsula Michigan guy.
You know what was actually when I did wrestling when I was in middle school. The reason why I started doing wrestling, I was like, okay, I'm in Northern California. That's like where all the best wrestlers are from. So I could get Olympic good because I heard like the Olympic Village was just like fucktown. Like you're just sticking your dick.
I've heard like, those stories. Yeah.
In a pussy from every country, and they're loving it.
You're doing the Epcot Center of banging.
Mm-hmm. And you're all tested every day. So like,
nobody's got what?
Yeah, no. I mean, like nobody has anything.
Everybody's clean as a whistle.
Everybody's clean. Yeah. You're like, fuck condoms in the Olympic Village. Fuck no, we're all clean here.
And if you have a baby, it's gonna be superhuman. So go for it.
That's actually another funny thing. If you see a lot of couples, they're like, oh yeah, we met at the Olympic Village. I'm like, you met at the Olympic Village getting fucked by this dude. You're like, oh, that's the best one. I'm just gonna get railed out by him the whole Olympics.
Yeah.
Like,
it's like I want. Well, there's like a thing too where I think when you have a certain kind of like maybe it's like hormonal or whatever connection with somebody too, where it's like I want to breed.
Yeah.
Like you I want to pump loads into this lady and have her make my fucking brood. That's how I feel about my wife. Where you just like there's a thing. There's a.
I was telling my wife today that she was like she was talking shit, and I was like, keep talking shit. As soon as we're done with this baby, I'm gonna pump all the babies into you. Keep talking shit like that.
As soon have a multiracial army up in this bitch.
As soon as you're done, because you know now there's that like super hormonal thing that women have as soon as they have the baby, where they're like must breed again, and they like can't control it. I'm like, I won't stop you this time. I'll just fucking put a metric ton of semen in you, and we'll have 10 babies. Board. Yeah, we'll have 10 babies. It'll be fucking great.
You don't know what you're getting into, lady.
You don't know what you're getting into.
That's funny as fuck.
But no, there's this guy that plays hockey for the Canadians. He's actually Donovan McNabb's nephew, the old quarterback for Philadelphia. His mom was like an Olympic track runner for America, and his dad was like an Olympic pole vaulter or something from Canada. So like, oh, my parents met in the Olympic Village. Ooh, Darnell, if you only knew what happened in the Olympic Village.
He probably does now.
Yeah, I mean, I hope not. That poor guy. He's like an up-and-coming NHL star. Oh, man.
That's too funny.
But, no, man. You should definitely watch, if you guys haven't watched, that video of Nikita Kucherov after he won his second Stanley Cup. That's what fucking... Dude, that's a fucking man. He's fucking just drinking.
Speaking of total savages, we have this weekend coming up Poirier and McGregor 3. Those guys are going to fight for the third time.
And McGregor's starting shit again.
Well, they have a knockout over each other each.
Yeah.
I feel like the second fight is a little more significant, obviously, because it's a little closer in time frame. It's going to be very interesting. It's going to be very interesting to see how that fight plays out.
I've been watching all of their like promos and stuff, and I've been watching Jorge Masvidal talk to Justin Poirier, and I don't want to say that I think Conor McGregor is more prepared, but every time, dude, Jorge doesn't look happy with how Poirier's training, because he's like, are you doing anything special, or like doing anything like this? Poirier's like, oh man, it's just another day. I just keep training every day, do the same thing. And Jorge Masvidal is like, everybody's saying Conor is like fucking training like it's his last fight on earth, man. And then like it always cuts away, like because it's always on Dustin's promo part of the show, but it keeps cutting away. But like Jorge doesn't look like scared, you know. He looks scared for his friend. Like he's at least concerned for his friend, you know.
Well, I think that's like a big thing too when it comes to fights. So like a lot of guys will say, and I think I definitely will agree, it's way easier to be the one stepping in than when you have like we have to sit on the sidelines to watch a friend compete. You know what I mean? Like I've cornered friends before. It's really hard to corner somebody that you care about because you almost like bring a frantic energy because you want to give them as much information as possible and help them as much as you can, and that's an intense kind of work because it's like trying to control a video game. You know what I mean? It's not always going to be as responsive as it needs to be. Like, whereas when you're doing it yourself, you know, it's intense. It's very intense. So really caring about somebody who's about to go into that kind of contest is a tough thing.
That's just like the realest motherfucker, right? In UFC, and he's like, he's training like an animal, and you just said you're just doing regular training, man. Like, he asked him like, what are you doing special? What extra are you doing? And Poirier's like, nothing. And then immediate
that could
concern,
also be like
like a poker face.
Yeah, that could also
it was
be
on film.
Like a lot of guys will do that too, where they're just like that's like their shtick, where it's just like just another day in the office. You know what I mean? Where it's like they're and now that's a trap to fall into, though, right? Some guys fall into that. They get complacent. You know what I mean? They don't.
Well, I don't think Poirier is complacent, but I feel like Jorge was thinking that he needed to do like extra training or whatever to deal with.
It's like a fine line, right? Some guys try and get too fancy and they fuck themselves. It's like anything else. The fight usually, bro, at the end of the day, comes down to that day. Like at this level, most of the guys, they know how to train. They know how to get in shape. They got teams around them that are helping. You got to really fuck the dog, so to speak, to like. But
well, and I guess Jorge's there with him too in South Florida,
but it's like
when he goes to training.
Whose week is going better? Whose month is going better? Whose day is going better that day? That's such an intangible factor that if you've never competed, it's so hard to like get around it because you could have like a killer camp, and then that day you just wake up on the wrong fucking foot and you're like off. It happens. It happens.
That half happened to me, like when I tell you when we went up to Chico State when I was in middle school to wrestle pretty much men in middle school, and because he like fucking our coach beat us up for like a month before that, and in our local area we were killing people because we were like training to. I didn't know this, but I guess like 50% of my team that had wrestled before, they knew that we were going to wrestle against grown men in middle school. Like we were just killing people. Like we weren't dropping a match in meets, and then go there and like I was feeling weird. And then I stepped on the mat with like my first guy and it was rough, and I lost. And then the next guy fucking threw me on my head, and I was just like, no, I guess I'm done wrestling because I'll never get to the Olympic Village wrestling against these guys. Like, fuck. Like I'll never get the sweet bounty. These guys are fucking men.
That's one of the things that happens too, like when you talk about like trial by fire or like paying dues or whatever. Like so we talked about Mike Tyson earlier. I was 13 years old with a size 13 foot and a fucking and I stood around 5'9", 5'10" maybe, and about 185 to 200 pounds around the age of 13. That was when I really started getting serious kickboxing. Who do you think I was fucking sparring with?
Yeah, man.
There wasn't other 13-year-olds in my... So I was mostly like 17-year-old, 18-year-old guys. And
they're just men.
Just young men who... And let me tell you, young men aren't the most controlled. You know what I mean? So you
and neither is a 13-year-old. So it's just wild.
And that's where you develop
kids.
yourself. You know what I mean? You see... And that's what you see with like a lot of these athletes too. Like you talk about these Russian cats, these cats who are coming up in this hard sport. They didn't just get there. Yeah. They've been there. You know what I'm saying? Like they've been grinding through it.
That's kind of the appeal of Poirier and McGregor is because McGregor's from fucking Ireland, and that's no fucking grinding. That's no fucking level, easy. There's no easy place to grow up in Ireland.
Exactly.
So we know from fucking Louisiana and Southern California or Southern Florida. Like those are not nice places to grow up either.
So we know that each guy can put the other away. That's what we know. So it's really going to be up to like whose day is going fucking better that day. Like there's no question.
The drama like behind it too, because like Conor was supposed to donate like Khabib did, and he fucking didn't.
He bailed,
and then he donated. But then this is how much of a good guy Dustin Poirier is. while Connor was talking shit still, his organization donated 500,000 to like the like Boys and Girls Club in the same city that Dustin's thing is from.
Right.
Dustin was like, "Hey man, he still is a man of his word and still fucking it got to the kids. That's all I wanted it to get to. So however it needed to get there, it's fine." And then Conor McGregor's still talking shit, but like I feel like after the
fight, selling the fight.
Well, no, I think after the first time when Dustin said he actually did get in his head, you know, and he got to him, and he wasn't ready for it. Now he's kind of like laughing it off. He's like, "Yeah, whatever. You still helped kids. Like you still helped kids.
That may be.
Thank you." So and I think
that may be where
it's like a little tell, you know.
But that also may be where the whole just another day in the office attitude is coming from, because if he had an issue in the first fight with mentality, and recognize like this guy got in my head, you can't make that guy like if you're gonna fight Fedor, if you're gonna fight Mike Tyson, if you're gonna fight Krokop, if you're gonna fight anybody who's like a staggering personality, a terrifying visage, you have to get to a place mentally where you can spit on that, where you can not give a fuck about that. That's the only way you beat that guy. You can't be having reverence for this guy in that moment. Afterwards, fine, but you got to go in there to like wash out his family line. You know what I'm saying? Like with your cum. Like you're going in there. It's like fucking Conan. You know what I'm saying? Crush your enemies. See them driven before you and hear the lamentations of the women. Why do you think the women are lamenting? Because you fucking pillaging and raping. That's the idea. You're a fucking barbarian. So like the mentality that they gotta have. Who's there that night? That's who's gonna win that fucking fight. That's why that fight's exciting as it is. Because we know we've seen both these guys fight. There's nothing we need to know. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing more we need to know.
He's ranked number 1, right? Yeah,
I mean, listen, since Khabib left, there's a lot of guys whose rankings are looking really good. Since Khabib's not smashing anybody anytime right now.
I mean, Poirier was smashing the people to get to him, which I liked.
Yeah, but Khabib dominated him.
Yeah, that's true. Nobody
just took him down, and nobody's looked good against Khabib really.
Poirier got one good hit on him, and Gaethje, whatever. Gaethje got one really good leg kick on him. Those are the only two guys that like have done one thing. That's the one thing.
Connor connected on him. Connected on him too. But,
not as hard as Poirier though.
But he's a bull. You know what I mean? He's one of these dudes who like he and also the factor that he lives in mountains like he does.
Yeah.
Like
he doesn't live in comfort.
Well, but condition aids with your durability. Right?
I saw this.
So if you have a good chin, it's gonna be amplified by the level of shape you're in. If your fucking gas tank is fucking top notch and you got a fucking anvil head, you're fucking hard to put away. You know what I mean? That's why the Diaz brothers are such animals. They're never tired. They're never tired, and they don't take damage. They're never tired, and you can't hurt the motherfuckers.
This is what I love about Khabib. Something Dana White was talking about, like stream hackers or whatever, that would like hack the stream and broadcast it.
Sure.
And he's like, we're gonna get you. We got one guy. Broadcast it. And then it cuts to Khabib, and they're like, you gonna watch the fight? And he's like, yeah, I take stream on the internet. And they're like, you're not gonna pay me? He's like, no, you never pay for it. He's living the true. He's the champion of a UFC.
The guy drives like a little Toyota truck, bro. He's not a flashy guy. That's why he's so fucking dangerous,
fucking
though.
Russian lifestyle.
He's
you never pay.
That shit.
He has the money
he's not doing
to
that
pay
shit
for pay-per-view.
That's right, because he's not doing that shit for all the glam and glitz.
No.
He's like, I wanted to fucking show that I'm this fucking bad, man. And when his mother said, please stop fighting anymore, he was like, man, I did what I came to do.
And he's like, I'm a man of my word.
And there's shit that matters more.
Yeah.
Than this money in this fight game. You know what I'm saying? He cares more about what he told his mother he would do. That's beautiful.
Yeah. He's a fucking real man. And once again, it goes back to
old school.
You're saying
old school.
The last real men are from Russia. And honestly, some of the last real women that could fight like men are from Russia. They're just in the streets.
At the very minimum, Eastern Europe.
Yeah.
Eastern Europe is full of some gangsters, man.
Dude.
And I mean that with the most complimentary way you can mean it.
I've told you about my story about bringing my friends to those Eastern European girls that I met in a bar after one night.
Yes.
And they were just hitting us. I hit them back,
and
they
laughing
called
at
me a
you when you hit
pussy.
them back.
Yeah,
Sure.
I hit like a woman, and I'm like, you're a woman. No, no, no. You hit like a lady, like a wife. I'm like, cool. All right. All right. That's a cool thing. I feel like shit. But we were drinking, having a good time.
I've never hauled off and hit a girl.
I didn't like hit her.
I'd like to one day.
Know?
I'd like to one.
But like they were like, you got to hit me like a man, and I never hit him like a man. But like, I mean, I had fucking 2 black eyes, but I was drunk as fuck, didn't care. It was a great time.
Yeah.
And they fuck like fucking literal like animals. You're like, Jesus Christ. Another instance where I'm like,
a half Eastern
you're
European.
fucking me.
I'm with it. It's like,
I'm inside you, here? But like you're.
Let me show you who's in charge here, fella.
Yeah, they were in charge. They were making things happen.
That's fucking too much.
Yeah,
Ruskies.
Fucking Russians, and they're good people. Man, Russians are just good people in general. Like same thing with like.
Every time I've competed against like an Eastern Bloc cat, like when those Russian cats, they're fucking tough. They're mentally tough as well. Like they have a really good, especially the one, there's I've met a lot of kids who are like.
But when it's over, when the match is over, super respectful.
Yeah, sure.
Great
now,
humans.
Again, that's a big blanket, right? Yeah, that's a big blanket. It's person to person. Like when you compete long enough too, right? It gets more person to person because you compete with enough people. Like you could say like Japanese competitors a lot of the time are really polite and stuff like that, but then
that's
you're gonna run into somebody, right? But you're gonna run into some cats who are not. And then at the same time, you got cultures like people from Brazil who anybody who's ever been to jiu-jitsu tournaments heard a lot of the yelling in Portuguese. You know what I mean? Like, and seeing a lot of passionate, seeing a lot of passionate, fiery tempers and stuff like. But you also in those same guys will see when shit's irrefutable. Yeah. When respect is irrefutably earned, even if it sometimes might take everybody cooling down for a second to get to like acceptance or whatever.
Yeah.
That respect is like even more revered and more important and more, you know what I mean? Like it's interesting. It's interesting, like you said, the cultural variance.
Yeah.
But again, that goes back to like we're talking about these Russian cats in hockey, the culture of hockey, the culture of fight sports, whereas you have now so many other sports that are hamstrung by advertisers and the actual organizations, the sporting organizations themselves.
I think it's goes back to the thing that you're talking about, like the poverty thing. Like poverty doesn't care, like at a certain level of like even socialism. Like poverty doesn't care about the government. Poverty in any government system, right? Is like whoever's strong enough to and can compete enough for the resources at the poverty level of whatever country you're in gets the extra, like gets to survive. So and then they come to places where you don't need to do that, but that's their nature. So like when you hear Russian guys saying like what makes your team different than others, and they say we're all super competitive. If a Russian says you're super competitive, you're fucking super competitive, Well,
look, like, I mean, you're talking about a culture that has had such immense
or you just
struggle.
Don't.
Yeah, ingrained. Look, you go back like less than 100 years, you're talking about cannibalism, famine. Yeah. You're talking about experiences
the people
like
that have nothing that come over here are just so successful. They're like, wait a minute,
just
all you have to do is
Ireland,
try. You just have to try a little bit.
Just like talking about Ireland, a guy with like Conor McGregor coming from a place like Ireland that's been in turmoil for the past 100 years.
Literally
themselves.
Civil war.
There's
for
been
like, there's been 130 years.
It's even been like a bit of a Cold War still going on. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, that's so then you have still
Then you want to talk about a guy like Poirier coming out of Louisiana, coming out of an era in Louisiana on the back of Katrina. You know what I'm saying? On the back of all these different hardships in an area that was already poor. You're talking about people who had to struggle to get where the fuck they are. That's a special look.
Just talking about Louisiana.
Mike Tyson's the ultimate example to come from fucking poverty, child abuse, neglect, from juvenile detention to ascend to the highest title in sports at that time. Is the heavyweight championship of the world. He made heavyweight championship more exciting than it had been since the Muhammad Ali era. You know what I'm saying? He came in as a fucking just destroyer, as a gladiator.
When you think about like the iconic guys that are like true competitors, like Brett Favre, right? Like he was the fucking top for a long time, and my buddy had the good fortune to play offensive line in front of him.
He popped out that wing.
Yeah, but like, dude, he fucking he told me, I think I've told you this before, he missed the block. Brett Favre just shoulders the guy over him. He stops before he fucking throws this bomb for a touchdown, and he says, "You fucking think you can touch me? Boy, I seen rape." And then just fucking bombs. And he's from the middle of nowhere. Boy, I seen rape. Dude, he's hilarious. From the middle of nowhere in Louisiana in like the 60s and 70s where, I mean, I don't know what I seen rape means, but
you kind of do.
But yeah,
you kind of do.
In the middle of the swamp, like,
yeah, man.
Dude, like,
the swamp.
That means he fucking. Swamp. That means he had to fucking like be like, this is terrible. I can throw a fucking ball. I need to get the fuck out of here. And he threw a ball so hard that he became the best quarterback.
He threw it all the way, out
to Wisconsin, right?
Yeah.
Like, dude, like, all of the greats come from someplace like that. Like the goalie on the Canadians, everybody was talking about him because he's been in the NHL a long time and hasn't won a Stanley Cup. They're like, he grew up in a log cabin in Canada, like a stone's throw from where the downtown is, like in Montreal. It's crazy. Like he had a wood stove. They're like, what was it like growing up in Canada? He's like, well, we had one room and it was a wood stove. And he's like all polite Canadian. And he's like, they're like, yeah, I just had to, work a little bit harder to get against these city kids. And I guess like here I am. And he's like the treasure of Montreal. It's fucking, and that's like what the thing.
Sounds like a character from Letterkenny.
Yeah, he literally is like, he's the super dude. And actually, the best post game interview was him and the team captain of Montreal. And they're like, what happened? And he's like, I just wasn't good enough. And then the team captain interrupted him. He's like, I totally disagree. We weren't good enough in front of you. And I was like, that's like a fucking team. I've never seen any statement like that come close to that in any other sport, like post game.
Cool to watch you really fall deeply in love with hockey over the course. Of
I always love hockey, but like I got into it more with like sports betting.
Really slid in.
Betting. But like, I don't think like I've seen anybody say anything remotely close to that in any other sport, like post game. Like, no man, you were great. We fucked up around you. Like, it was just like when somebody like, oh, I got to take all the blame. All the other guys in the press conference are like silent, kind of like, yeah, you fucked up. Like, dude, that was the captain of that fucking team telling like the most legendary player on their team, like, no, you did nothing wrong. Like, we weren't good enough. Like, we weren't good enough for you to be good enough. Like, that's I haven't heard like other team sports even saying shit like that. Like, what?
You're not gonna find that as much.
That pride and like teamwork and camaraderie, like it's what we always talk about, this accountability. Like the accountability level is real in hockey. Like
it's gonna sound like corny, but it's real man shit. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It's real
where the men
shit.
Play sports.
Listen, you see it seldomly. You see it, and then you see it in certain sports. Like when it comes to combat sports, you'll see it where a guy takes a loss and he goes like, "Man, this guy was fucking great tonight."
Yeah, Masvidal versus the black guy, Usman. He was like, "He's got my number. He's got my number. That guy's great."
When Masvidal said, one of my favorite quotes after that fight was like, where he was like, "It's actually hard to watch that knockout on a couple levels. One level is because it's me getting knocked out and it's taking something from me that I was working hard for. But the other level is difficult because for a moment, as a fan, I have to be appreciative and in awe of the setup because he just enough changed his levels to get that right hand off before I could check him with my left hook." And the way he describes it is just like as a
super technical. Yeah, super technical. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
To say like, I have to at a minimum appreciate this as a craftsman.
Yeah.
As an artist in this same
fellow
craft.
Craftsman, yeah.
We share this craft. I have to appreciate what he was able to do to me because I know what the fuck I can do. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That's real shit.
Dude, and once again it goes back to like men. That's a man sport.
Man shit.
And then
It's
fucking
corny,
NHL's the last
or whatever,
fucking.
but it really is man shit.
I don't even think it's corny, man. I think like those are the last kind of like two men's.
I think it's easy to sign it off as corny. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what people
but
that don't believe that, that are like my buddy that doesn't believe that the goalie for Tampa Bay. And there's 7.8 billion on the people on the planet that think that's the best goalie in the world, and he is just like, nope, I don't think he's good. Like, that's the same people where you're like, no, those are the last two sports where real men are.
That's
They're
somebody
like,
though.
nope,
That's somebody
nope,
that just seems like
tough.
somebody. But that's just somebody who can't say, oh no, they might be the best, but they're not my favorite.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, listen.
He said, I don't. He said to me, I don't think he's that good. And I'm like,
the best all-time basketball player from our era as kids is Michael Jordan. There's no question about it, right? But my favorite is Muggsy Bogues.
Yeah.
But I have to be able to distinguish my favorite from the statistical best. You know what I'm saying?
My favorite is John Stockton, who's like a Muggsy Bogues level. Yeah.
Yeah, so you've got these different guys, and
my
Stockton had legendary rivalry with fucking Jordan.
Yeah, that's my whole. They got inducted on the same night. Dude,
yeah.
Stockton's acceptance speech is hilarious because he starts off, he's like, I'd like my family and friends for being here, even though they probably just wanted to see Michael Jordan.
If Michael Jordan is Muhammad Ali, then John Stockton is Joe Frazier.
Oh, for sure.
You know what I mean?
Dude, and they had dude, I think it was
at a minimum, he's Kenny Norton.
It was the perfect night for them to be inducted together because they talked about each other and gave each other a hug, and like, dude, it was the greatest thing. And Michael was like, when everybody talks about the best point guard, like him and Charles Barkley and a couple other like big guys, they're like, John Stockton's the best point guard in the history.
Another guy I used to like to watch Jordan play against was Patrick Ewing. Yeah,
Patrick Ewing says John Stockton's the best point guard too. But like Michael Jordan's like, he's like, a big part of my game was talking shit, and John Stockton doesn't talk back to you. He just talks back with like fucking you over in the game. It's great. Like, I love that. Like, and then John Stockton's like, yeah, but you're like an amazing generational talent. And he's like, but you'd outwork me. Watching those two guys talk, it's great. Like you said,
John Stockton, if I'm not mistaken, was also known for talking some shit to other guys.
Yeah. Other
he would
guys,
like, but it's like, it's very interesting because that shows that he's got a very strategic mind because he realized, like, I'm not going to talk shit back to him. I got to fuck him up.
He only talked shit to Jordan one time, and Jordan said he was confused because he had never talked shit to him. He was just like, wait, and and if you look back at like the video, John Stockton's like chasing him talking shit, and then like Michael Jordan is like hearing his voice for the first kind of thing, and he's just like, wait, is that John Stockton talking shit?
That's funny.
And then like Mike doesn't know what to do, and he's like, yeah, well, fuck you too, and it kind of like works. It's great, and they're like such high competitors, and like fucking John Stockton's like 6 foot even, and Michael Jordan was like 6'5", 6'8" or whatever.
And Stockton was a leaner guy, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Oh, that was the other thing. All of them talk about like he's a little guy, but when he like screens you and puts his shoulder into you and you go down, you fucking
naturally strong guy.
Yeah, he's a pillar. They're saying
you can't measure that like shit. Just on size too, right? Like, they say one of the hardest hitters pound for pound in boxing was Thomas Hearns, you know, at a lightweight and welterweight. Like, Thomas Hearns just had a rangy build. He had wide shoulders and wide collarbones.
Talk about Rocky Marciano, right? Too?
And Rocky Marciano was just like a pug fighter. He would just be inside banging your arms and wear you down. He had a lot of like 8th and 9th round knockouts where he would like beat somebody down with his own face. You know what I mean? That was more. But Thomas Hearns was a guy who was long and lean, and he would hit with this right hand that was like, it was coming from so far away because of the way his body was built. Yeah, it was like a fucking missile. It was like a cruise missile. And it was so sharp. You know what I mean? He dropped Roberto Duran on his face.
Yeah. Actually, you showed me that, I think.
Yeah.
But you know, it's funny that the whole Coming to America scene where they're talking about like the best boxers and they're like, Rocky Marciano. It's like, he's like Rocky Marciano. So it's funny that I brought him up too because like Mike Tyson says he's like the toughest guy too, right?
Well, I mean,
Mike Tyson has
Mike
talked
Tyson
about him.
has talked about him for sure. I think Tyson probably would say Dempsey's like the toughest, Jack Dempsey, like from those eras. But Marciano's one of those guys
hearing him
too.
say his name too.
Yeah.
Rocky Marciano.
Rocky Marciano.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rocky Marciano's one of the great. But no, like Rocky's one of those guys too, though. Tyson gets a similar knock sometimes from certain people, where they'll say, you know, his era wasn't as deep as some guys' eras and this and that and stuff like that.
Man.
This is just
some like killers.
There were some, but some of those killers were on the back end of their careers.
That's
too.
true.
Like,
that's true. They're a little bit older.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Archie Moore and Ezra Charles and what do you
kid.
call no, not for. Oh, you're talking about Mike Tyson? Yeah. Mike Tyson, Marvis Frazier, and he knocked the shit out of Larry Holmes, who was towards the end of his career. Trevor Burbick wasn't exactly young, but Marciano had the same thing. Marciano beat up like a 42 or a 40-year-old
like
Joe
champion?
Lewis.
Yeah.
He Ezra Charles was older. Jersey Joe Walcott, if I'm not mistaken, was a little bit older.
I feel like young Tyson today.
Well, Marciano again did have legit guys. Like he went the distance with guys like Roland Lastarza and like other like perennial guys who were like, you know, top contenders of the era. But all the guys that were like, again, the same way Larry Holmes was coming out of the Muhammad Ali era and never got the credit that he deserved as a great champion. Marciano was similar in that he was coming out of the Joe Louis era and into his own era, where he was kind of like coming up as this champion and had to really earn his way into, because he wasn't flashy, he was just a bull, and he was like a bull terrier, like he's just on a guy until he drags him down, you know what I mean? And
but I think Mike Tyson today would, like, if Mike Tyson was born later and had the exact same upbringing and everything and trainers and everything, right?
Sure.
I feel like he would.
He's a terrifying force to be reckoned with.
I think,
no question.
I don't think Floyd Mayweather would be like the guy that he is if Tim and Tyson were in the same era.
Well, again, Floyd. That's, they're two massively different weight classes, but
you know what I mean. Like,
I know what you mean. Like if you had a machine where you could make them the exact same size and shit. Like, no, absolutely. And look, it's one of those things too where you're talking about stylistically two vastly different guys. Like Floyd is looking to take control and retain control of the distance, pace, contact, and engagement of the entire fight, right?
Yeah, but how
he wants to control where you are.
Tyson?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Mike Tyson was also looking to control things, but in a different way.
Yeah.
He was controlling you with pressure, with accuracy, with speed. And again, you're not seeing
that combo, dude. His combo.
You're not seeing devastating combos coming from Floyd Mayweather. You're seeing accurate and precise and really measured combos. Whereas when Mike Tyson would come in and hit a guy with like a triple to the body,
that's what I was talking about.
Curl people over. One of the best things he would do, he would double the left hook to the body,
double, and then come up on the same side.
He would double the right, and he would go from the right to the right uppercut.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Yeah,
bang.
That's the combo that I was talking about. Dude, I was watching one time because somebody was like breaking it down on YouTube. The right to the body before the right uppercut he did to somebody lifted them off the ground, and he missed.
For sure, many times.
He missed the uppercut, but the guy still went down from the fucking hammer to the body. Like I don't see, like I feel like that's not something that I've seen ever. I'm like
it's definitely
a touristy fan of boxing, but I still
definitely out there.
I don't see people towards the top doing it. People towards the top being able to do it.
But you don't see it often because it is a spectacular thing, and he was a spectacular specimen of boxing. Like, it's one of those things where, like, there's guys. Look, you can go back and develop an appreciation for guys, and as you go on and you learn the nuances, you can watch a guy like Pernell Whitaker, a guy like Willie Pep, and be like, wow, they're barely getting touched. They're winning rounds without even throwing a lot of punches just because they're so hard to hit.
Yeah.
But it's never quite as amazing as watching, George Foreman fight Joe Frazier. Watch Foreman versus Frazier. You want to watch a guy get lifted off the ground with shots? We should do that as a reaction video tonight.
Okay. All right.
Fucking dude Joe Frazier is a super special specimen in boxing, right? He's only thought of as like one of the greatest number 2s of all time because he was in the Ali era. Any other era, he would have been.
Wasn't he a champion in the Ali era?
Fuck yeah, he was. That's what I'm saying.
Isn't that the thing?
But he also lost to Ali, and he lost to he was in the same era with Ali and Foreman.
No,
so he's always going to kind of have the back seat to them because his record with them was losses.
But like,
you know what I'm saying?
He was not considered the underdog when he went against Ali. Though, right?
Well, one of the times he went 2-1 with Ali. They fought 3 times.
Yeah, isn't that good?
That's great.
Winning record against like the greatest of all time.
No, he lost. He lost 2. He lost 2. Yeah.
Wait, he won 1. Fuck you.
And listen, Ken Norton has one over Ali. There's a ton of, but it's again one of those things where if you're looking at specifically as like the guys of the era, who's the greatest, he's going to be 3rd in that era. It's going to be Ali, Foreman, and then Frazier.
Yeah.
And then everybody else can fight. You know what I mean? For what, you know, you get your Ernie Shavers and your Ken Nortons.
Like young Foreman was the scariest looking man in boxing for a long time, right?
Big George Foreman.
Because he wasn't fat. He was just, his shoulders were bowling balls.
He wasn't even really fat. If you look back at him when he was
selling grills.
When he was like
No, I mean like he was big, but like big guys back then kind of had like a stomach. He was like the first athlete from an older generation that I saw that had like those abs on top of abs look. And he was just like, you could see his lats. You know, they were like pipes on the side. Like he was like, holy fuck! But it wasn't lean cut. He was
but he wasn't like fat though. You know what I mean?
No,
like
that's what I'm saying. He wasn't fat.
He was
but
like
he was
farmer fat.
Yeah,
like hard working fat. You know, like I eat cornbread at dinner, but I swing an axe all day.
Just
like John Henry.
Like when he would square up, like his old pictures of him when he's young and he's squaring up, and he's like a tall Tyson build when he's young. And I'm just like,
when he was younger,
how do you look at that?
His stance was a lot more open.
Yeah.
Right? When he got older,
whenever he's at his biggest and his tight, and he's
when you watch him like you watch him in his fight with Michael Moorer when he's in his second run at the title, when he's much older and he's got the shaved head.
Yeah.
He fucking hits Michael Moorer with this. The thing about Foreman's power too, he could hit guys with punches that didn't look tremendous, and you see the guy fly.
But he's so big.
He had this natural power. He had this natural fucking power that was just. Again, there's intangibles in certain sports.
Measure. Yeah.
But I think it's already midnight.
Oh yeah.
I think we've had a great chat to come back to. I always miss these. I think we need to go do this reaction video. I want to do this one bad.
All right. I'm also releasing tonight Tom Eats It, the new series, because I've been working on all the other videos and they're giving me troubles, and the Tom Eats It ones are like good and they're done.
I'm excited.
I'm going to release that first one. It's the Clam Decanes with a guest appearance by you and I.
Yeah. That was a fun one. That was a really fun day. Those were really fun to shoot. Yes. Those were really fun to shoot.
Also, I'm growing Carolina Reapers, and I will sometime in the future, one of them is maturing much faster than the others, so that means somebody has to eat it. And I think that somebody has to be me. So at the end of one of our shows coming up,
you've got to eat your own baby like a Russian in the winter of 1812.
The other ones are still green, but this one is just like, I'm coming for you. Every time I come outside in the morning, it's closer to being mature, and I feel like in about a week or two, it'll be like ready to go. And I'm so that's coming up. We should hype that up too.
I'm all about it.
Yeah.
Also, in the coming months, as the summer ends, I'll be coming around to rehearse quite a bit. So between now and your new edition, I think we'll for sure have a lot more fun things that we get on the books.
Yes.
So that while you're stuck at home with a barf rag on your shoulder, you'll have lots of nice editing to do in that time.
Yes. Sounds like a good time.
You can baptize that baby by the luminescence of your screens.
Yes.
I love it.
Outro ready. Yeah. All right then. So next week,
Share us if you like us. Subscribe to our stuff if you haven't.
Yeah.
And send it to people that might enjoy the show, and spread the word. Spread the good word.
Yeah. All right, guys.
See y'all soon.